I realized my husband's family doesn't like me, and I think it's pushing me toward divorce. Has anyone been through this? I, female, 30s, am married to a man, also 30s, who, unfortunately, comes from a family that doesn't like me, or at least doesn't seem to want me around. I'm starting to think this has been a huge factor in why I've been considering divorce. I'd love to hear from others who've gone through something similar. Here are some examples that really affected me. Inappropriate boundaries. My mother-in-law once asked my husband if we use protection. He actually shared details of our sex life as she kept asking. He told me about it later since I wasn't around at the time, and I was mortified. When I told him I felt violated, he said it was normal for him to talk about these things with her. He said I was too closed off about such topics with family and friends, and that this was just how they are, passive-aggressive jokes. She once said that foreigners like me always take things, and used me as an example because I stole her son. My husband laughed when he told me about it. She said it again another time, again, when I wasn't around, dismissive comments about my interests. She mocked my love of books, calling it an obsession, even though my husband knows that's a sensitive topic for me. Instead of defending me, he accused me of being resentful, weird emotional competition. Before our wedding, she told me flat out that she would always love him more than I ever could. She said it seriously, not as a joke. No one at the table said anything, not even my husband. Constant emotional dumping, she calls him regularly, crying and venting, even when he's overwhelmed with grief after his father's death. She refuses therapy and expects him to be her emotional support system. Unhealthy family dynamics. His extended family uses his car without asking, damages it, and laughs it off. One aunt even drove against traffic. He says nothing, even when she was clearly in the wrong. Yet, if I make a small mistake, he corrects me immediately and harshly. They reject my cooking. Whenever I cook at my mother-in-law's house, more people suddenly show up, but no one eats what I make. He says they're just picky, but even her vegetarian aunt refused to try the salad I made specifically for her. The culture. I've noticed that no man in his family, his mother's brothers or nephews, is still married. It's a very matriarchal family where the women form a tight circle, and I'm left out. I often sit alone during gatherings while they whisper in the kitchen. Some of them don't even refer to me by name. Resentment and subtle digs. I get the feeling his mom resents me, not just for taking her son, but for being different. Lately, they've started making xenophobic comments, and I'm an immigrant. So it's hard not to take it personally. The extended family has shifted toward radical right-wing ideas against people like me. And yet, my husband defends them constantly. He says there's no bad intention, that his mom is just being herself, and that I'm too sensitive. He minimizes my feelings and seems more concerned about their comfort than about mine. I'm starting to feel invisible. Like I walked into a family where I'll never be truly welcomed. And even though I love my husband, I'm wondering if this is sustainable. Christmas is coming, and honestly, I don't want to spend another one there. I'm thinking about telling him I want a divorce before the holidays. Has anyone else felt pushed out by their partner's family to this extent? Did it affect your marriage long term? I'd really appreciate any honest insight. Final update. When I last posted, my husband was about to leave for his country for 6 months, to his mother's house specifically, to heal. I thought distance might help us both process things and that I would wait to speak with him in person about divorce. But what happened before and after his trip made everything painfully clear. One afternoon before he left, my parents asked if we wanted to go out for lunch. He had just taken a shower, and when I asked if he wanted to join, he got angry. "See? I knew this would happen," he said. Apparently, if he showered, it meant he wouldn't go anywhere. He has many rules like that. He said it was very rude of me to ask because it showed that I wanted to go, and that meant he had to go. It escalated into an argument about how I was cold and selfish. I tried to stay calm and avoid arguing, but that was also a problem. He accused me of being apathetic and said I didn't care anymore. Then he made a comment that scared me, something about not seeing the point of living anymore. It wasn't direct, but it left me shaken. I was upset because I've suggested therapy many times, and he's always refused. The next morning, he ignored my texts and didn't answer when I knocked on the bathroom door. When I finally opened it, he laughed and said, "You probably thought something happened after what I said yesterday." And he laughed. That's when something in me broke. My worry and care had become another tool for control. Did he love me, or did he mistake love for control? We talked about his family again before his flight. I told him I felt uncomfortable when they crossed boundaries and that I needed him to stand up for me. His answer was, "Of course I'll back you up. We'll just discuss it privately after it happens." That's when I realized, again, that he never planned to defend me at all. He just wanted to avoid upsetting them. When he left, he refused to let me drive him to the airport because it would make things harder. I stayed home, realizing the real goodbye had already happened days before. After arriving, he said his mom saw him at the airport looking tired and joked, "From your wife?" He told me that story like it was funny. It wasn't, but it summed up our marriage. During his first week abroad, we barely spoke. Then, out of nowhere, his mother, who hadn't texted me in years unless it was about her son, messaged me. She wrote, "I hope you're doing well. We're all trying to move forward despite how bad things were. I really enjoyed having you here with my son." It caught me off guard. I knew it was meant to sound kind, but it felt performative, like she was trying to keep me emotionally tied to him through her. Or maybe it was her way of saying, "We're already going through a lot, so don't make it worse." I didn't reply. It was the first time I realized just how blurred the boundaries in that family really were. That night, he complained that I was cold and rude. I reminded him that I'd asked to speak that week, but he said he was busy. I suggested we talk the next day, since it was the weekend. He said no, it had to be now. When I asked him to respect my boundary, he flooded me with texts and calls saying, "I respect your boundaries," followed by, "I need you now. Pick up. I'd never do this to you. I won't sleep." The next day, I asked for a divorce. It was a tough call. He refused at first, saying he'd change. I asked him to respect my decision, and the call ended abruptly. Then he sent a long, emotional letter full of guilt and self-pity, saying I'd treated him like trash, that I controlled everything, and that I hadn't given him a chance to change. That he went to his country to get better and I had disposed of him. The next day, he said he understood and respected my decision but that he wanted therapy, to change, to rebuild things. He promised to set boundaries with his family, to support me. I wanted to believe him. For 2 days, I did. Then he told me his brother-in-law had said, "Oh, so now we don't have to hate her anymore," after hearing we might reconcile. And, of course, he justified it as just a joke. Even after I told him how hurtful that was, he defended it. He also told me he was upset because I never replied to his mom's message. I never told him about that message, so I guess it really was performative on her part. The following day, he started blaming my parents. He said that for our marriage to work, I should stop seeing them so often, stop going to their city, we only go for work or short visits, and that we should balance family events evenly between his and mine. His family lives on another continent. When I suggested we make friends in our own city instead, he said that wasn't necessary because we have each other. That's when I realized he didn't want balance, he wanted control. So, I asked for space. Not to play games, but to break the cycle of we divorce, we reconcile, we fight again. We agreed to text each morning just to say we were okay. One day he stopped texting, even when I did, so I gave him space too. Yesterday was our anniversary. He said nothing. No good morning, no message. I didn't reach out either. I wanted to respect the silence we both seemed to need, and honestly, I didn't see anything to celebrate. Then today, he sent a long message full of guilt, apologies, and emotional weight. And immediately after, he blocked me. And somehow, that silence feels like closure. Because I finally understand that love isn't enough when the relationship requires you to shrink yourself just to keep the peace. It wasn't just his family. Through therapy, conversations with friends, and self-reflection, I've realized there were many other unhealthy dynamics too. By the way, someone told me something after I broke the news that made my stomach turn. A day before our wedding, this friend saw my mother-in-law crying. When she asked if everything was okay, my Mill said, "It's just that my son is in love." When my friend looked in the direction she was staring, she saw us kissing. I felt disgusted hearing that. I also found out it was his mother who picked out my engagement ring. Anyway, I may never recover my books and belongings since he blocked me, but luckily I have a list of everything, and hopefully, I can get them back little by little. It's still better than what could have happened if I went there. In December, I'm going on the trip I had planned, with one of my best friends. I'm really excited about it. It's not the amicable ending I hoped for, but I finally have peace and time to rediscover myself. Thank you all for your kind words and advice.